I am Reed, I am 27, just an average dude. IV made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. Oh shit, today we talking about something that literally changed my entire trajectory, CoastFIRE. Imagine buying back your life and your freedom so that you can do work that you actually care about, even if it pays less because you already did the hard part. By age 27, I hit what is called CoastFIRE, and that means that I never have to save for retirement. Again, I still work, but now I only work on things that I actually care about. And if I stopped investing today, I have millions waiting for me at retirement, and I am just a normal guy. I went to school, I got a 9 to 5 job, I invested in stable, boring stocks, but I was diligent with my money throughout my 20s, and that is what CoastFIRE gives you. It is an important level to pass to take a step forward in your journey to financial independence. Now, this doesn't mean that you can retire, but you can shift your focus into things you actually care about. For me, this gave me freedom and options in my later 20s to pursue my passions instead of a boring insurance job. So today, I am going to go through step by step how people can reach CoastFIRE earlier in their lives, ideally before age 30, if you play your cards right in your 20s and make the right moves, so you can really set yourself up for some nice freedom in your late 20s, your 30s, and beyond. And a lot of this is going to be concrete advice that you can try out today. And if you are in your early 20s especially, this is your cheat code. But if you are late to the game, there is still plenty of time to turn it around. You can realistically do this in 5 to 10 years. So we're going to walk through these tips and help you get to your number. Welcome to WL Learn Wednesday. Let's go get it. Let us start with defining what CoastFIRE actually is. So CoastFIRE is a branch of the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I've been a big fan of this movement for a long time, especially in my early 20s. I would just binge these FIRE videos on YouTube. And the philosophy behind this is that you basically do two things starting as early as you can. You live as cheaply as you can, and then you invest the money. And then after some time could be, 5, 10, 15 years. Maybe you start to have a significant amount of money and eventually you be able to withdraw, 3% or collect a dividend, and then you are considered free. Your investments can now pay for your cheap lifestyle. And CoastFIRE is a version of that. So that means that you've accumulated enough money to where the money itself will compound into millions in retirement without you adding any more, which means you can just kind of coast to retirement. You can do a more relaxing job. You did all the aggressive saving and investing, and now the compounding is working for you, and you can do something else with your work. You don't have to focus on investing a lot anymore. So that is the key here, is that once you reach this number, you can shift into lower paying or more flexible work or do higher risk stuff. Do something that you've dreamed of. FIRE has a few levels. CoastFIRE is one of the earlier ones. Then there is, full FIRE, which means you have full financial independence to stop working and retire. Then there is Fat FIRE, which just means you've accumulated so much that you can basically live whatever life you want to. Of course, CoastFIRE is a huge first step, so we got to get there. That is what we're refocusing on today. Mathematically, the FIRE movement is really just a math problem at the end of the day. So here's how you can calculate your CoastFIRE number and then eventually your FIRE number. You always need numbers with these types of things, because you need a concrete goal in your head. You need a North Star to shoot for. First thing you need to calculate is your basic monthly expenses. Then you need to calculate your difference between your income and expenses. This will be the amount you invest every month. And again, you need to be making this gap as big as possible because this is just going to go into the markets and become money that works for you. Then we need to make some assumptions, right? That maybe your monthly expenses grow, your investments grow, inflation grows. And I use this website for this. This is not an ad. IV just found this to be a genuinely useful tool. The Wallet Burst CoastFIRE Calculator. What you can do is add in your current money, your retirement age, your current age, inflation, income required to live, all this stuff, and this will calculate what your CoastFIRE number is. For me, I like to assume like 5 to 6K a month in spending money. Then I go with pretty conservative stock market returns and inflation. You can play around with the numbers to get the number that you want to shoot for. So CoastFIRE is awesome for the following reasons. Number one, it helps you build the habit of being cheap, not relying on things for happiness, and forces you into the habit of saving and investing early in your life. But I say the main reason that CoastFIRE is awesome, and this is what I personally use this philosophy for, is that you can switch into something you want to do and break even just to go chase your dreams. So for me, I was working for a big insurance company. It was a high salary, but very boring. I was very passionate about what I was working on, and I kind of thought to myself, I don't need to be making 12K a month anymore doing a job that is boring. I can now go switch and make 2 to 3K a month, but I am doing something I enjoy now. I am traveling, working on things like a YouTube. I am doing my own software projects. And with this, I hope that eventually it'll pay off and I'll be able to earn more in the future. This has allowed me to take higher risks. Like, this is something I could have been able to do without this cushion. And as long as I break even, I am still going to have millions when I am retired. I no longer need to contribute to retirement. Of course I want to, and I am going to continue to. but I don't need to. And that is a very powerful thing to say. And I want everyone to get to a place where they can get to CoastFIRE and then eventually full fire. So let S lay out a roadmap for getting to CoastFIRE, because honestly, the earlier you start, the better it is going to turn out for you for sure. So step one, acquire a skill that is going to pay well, teach you a lot, and allow you to learn and meet people. Focusing on income is the first part of this equation, because without a solid income, you are not going to be getting to your number. And you really can get paid without a marketable skill. So you can learn the skills in multiple ways. You always have formal education, although this isn't as important as it once was. You can do trade schools. You can do boot camps, community colleges, even good old YouTube University will work out for some people. For me, I picked a cheap in-state school, got a CompSci degree, and learned a skill that pays the bills, which is coding. You don't need to get fancy, just pick something you are okay at that you can put up with. If you like solving problems and, reading documentation and don't like talking to people as much, something like engineering might be a good thing to pursue. But if you like people and you don't like sitting down and, banging your head against the wall solving problems, something like sales or a business degree could suffice. And this might be controversial too, but I wouldn't chase passion right away. You want to learn a skill with high leverage, something that is going to earn you money, and chase things that is going to help you in the future. Again, it is just something to learn, not something you necessarily enjoy, something that pays the bills and gives you skills you need income to succeed with CoastFIRE. There is no way around it. And I only got to my number because I was a software engineer, which paid very well throughout my 20s. So step 2, please avoid unnecessary debt. Now, I understand that some debt is necessary, especially for school or an investment in education for some fields, and the house can be a good investment too, depending on your circumstances. Debt can also be used as a tool for investment, and I am not talking about that. I am talking about the bad, destructive kind of debt. Things to be careful of. Number 1, paying a lot for a bad degree is basically a death sentence for your financial independence journey. So don't do that. Make sure your degree has a high return on investment. You can make college as cheap as possible through in-state options, scholarships, part-time jobs, and stuff like that. Another one is a car. Don't ball out on a car. Don't take on a big loan. I would buy a cheap car that is reliable and buy it in cash. Also, getting into a mortgage way too soon can be a bad decision. I can tell you how many people I've seen just overstretch themselves buying a house that they probably shouldn't be buying right now. That is something to stay away from till you are more stable, and it is also going to handicap your freedom potential if you have this payment that you can get out of. Debt will just eat away at your investment potential and basically harm your ability to invest properly, so only take on debt if it is absolutely 100% necessary. I avoided debt like the plague, and it turned out very nicely for me. You can still build credit, you can still use credit cards smartly to build your credit score, but you don't need to take on major debt to build this score. That is a lie. IV only use credit cards, and my credit score is almost 800. The next step, step 3, and it is pretty closely tied to step 2, is be cheap in general. Like income, that's the first part, but if you make $150K a year, it doesn't mean anything if you can save anything. So a couple things I did to be cheap in my 20s. I lived with my roommates. The times I lived with my parents, like my rent was very minimal most of the time. I never inflated my lifestyle. I wasn't buying dumb things just to make myself look cool, especially when you are young. You kind of have to pass for, being cheap. So there is no need to buy stuff like that. Also, some sneaky things that could harm you is, alcohol, obviously from a physical perspective and a money perspective, subscriptions, overpriced meals, eating out. These are things you can cut today and really should have been cut yesterday. So definitely, have fun once in a while. But maintain a cheap lifestyle where necessary, because this will allow you to invest more translation, get you to your freedom sooner. Finally, and this is the big one, is take that difference between your income and your expenses and invest in long-term stable assets. So I am not a financial advisor, but I am a guy who has saved and invested his way to over $400,000 in his 20s. So here are some of the strategies that I use. Number 1, I use tax-advantaged accounts wherever possible, because taxes can eat away at your gains. I was a big fan of the 401ks, the company matches, the Roth IRA, the HSA, all that stuff was great for me. And then I also had an individual taxable account as well. I wasn't chasing get rich quick schemes. Every time I did, there was a higher chance I got burnt as opposed to making money on it. So eventually I just turned fully into the long-term stable things, and I tell myself I don't buy a stock. I don't make an investment unless I plan on owning it for 5 years plus. Most of my stuff is in ETFs and mutual funds. I am not gambling. I am investing. I am building a system that is paying me dividends, and it is going to support me in the future. And this is huge. If you can get that 7 to 10% return on your money, You'd be surprised how much that can add up in 5 to 10 years, especially if you get yourself into a position where you can invest thousands per month. That is the ideal place to be. The next step, and this is kind of a bonus step, is starting side hustles. I regret not doing this sooner, and most people I talk to who eventually got into it regret not starting sooner. Like, I truly didn't start taking side hustles seriously until I was 27. Now I have freelance clients, now I have a YouTube that makes money, I do consulting, so there is a lot of things that I wish I started sooner. I totally could have, and I just didn't. Instead, I stayed at home and scrolled on social media, so just the process of doing these things will not only teach you so much, but make you a better speaker and set yourself up for more stability if you have other sources of income. It is just a great thing to start to learn a lot, so I highly recommend starting your self-employment journey maybe even before you are actually self-employed. In summary, the math will show you that if you get into a situation where you can invest thousands per month with a high paying skill while maintaining a cheap lifestyle, you can get to your CoastFIRE number within 5 to 10 years, right? The math shows that that will work out. Now, obviously, some people are heavy spenders, some people aren't. I am probably on the cheaper end, but you need to have a plan once you reach CoastFIRE of what you are going to do next. What are you passionate about? What do you want to make an impact? What fires you up to get you up in the morning? For me, it is projects I am interested in. It is YouTube. It is making these videos honestly, and use that money to chase your goals, and you are going to have limited time. It is not like you can just retire on the spot, but once you reach CoastFIRE, you V-bought your freedom for now. So congrats. But at the same time, the work is just starting. So just some final thoughts. I believe you can do this, but you have to start today. Get a financial plan put together for your life and start working towards building those skills, building those systems, getting income, and investing it. CoastFIRE is just the beginning. It is a good number to shoot for, and the philosophy is honestly solid. You know, be cheap and invest in safe and stable things, but like Don T, take it too far as well. Remember to enjoy yourself, you know, buy experiences. Don T, buy things, and Don T, put money at the center of everything at the same time. But you can do this for your life. I am rooting for you. I am working here with you. So good luck, gentlemen. ILL be right here grinding in the trenches with you. Peace.